Welcome to Overanalyzing Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith. If you are already familiar with how the overanalyzing videos work, then skip to this timestamp. But for those of you who are new, welcome. These overanalyzing videos are where I go through the entire movie and talk about literally anything that I want. So I will play a clip from the movie and then discuss whatever comes to my mind. This could be an aspect of the movie that I loved, an aspect that I hated, or something completely neutral like a fun fact. Hence the title, Overanalyze. Oftentimes you will see me completely nitpick the shit out of something. Now, it should be noted that a nitpick is not the same as a genuine criticism. If there's something I think is fair criticism, then I will specify. But pretty much all of my nitpicks are going to be for the fun of it and should not be taken as genuine criticism. Because, unlike some people, I can separate valid criticism from a fun nitpick. I've also already done an overanalysis of The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, so if you want to see my entire playlist for my overanalyzing series, click on the link above. I think that's all. Let's begin with overanalyzing Revenge of the Sith. God, I love Star Wars. This line at the end of the first paragraph always confuses me. There are heroes on both sides, evil is everywhere. What? There's nothing to suggest from the first two movies that there are heroes on the separatist side or that there is evil everywhere. I guess there's evil in the Senate because Palpatine's evil. Also, I guess if you read some of the OG Clone Wars comics or books, this could make sense. I wouldn't know, I've never read them, but for a casual viewer who has only seen the movies, this line makes no sense. Revenge of the Sith probably has my favorite opening few seconds of any Star Wars movie. The beating of the drums is so badass. Bum, 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 bum. I think The Rise of Skywalker has a cool one too, with the blasting of Kylo Ren's theme. But I'm gonna give the edge to Revenge of the Sith for my favorite. I've always found it hilarious that a few seconds ago you can clearly see that there is nothing going on in the background. Like, we got a pretty good view here and there's no giant ass space battle going on. But a few seconds later, it's absolute chaos.
Lock on to him, R2. Master, General Grievous' ship is directly ahead.
It's pretty much universally accepted that Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars prequel. One aspect of this movie that I love way more than the other two is that the movie begins in an intense way. Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones begin with political squabbling. Politics can be fascinating in Star Wars, but I don't think it works that well in these movies. Revenge of the Sith throws you right into the middle of a battle, and I love that. One thing I gotta give the prequels immense credit for is that the lore behind the prequels is just so cool. When I look at the background of this battle, there's just so many cool ships. I was always annoyed that the sequels pretty much took the same vehicles from the original trilogy and made them feel modern. The prequels have so many unique ship designs. It allows the era to stand on its own. I wish modern Star Wars would try and do a better job at being more original with its vehicle designs. This may or may not be a hot take, but the opening of this movie is actually my favorite part of the movie. It's the only time in the trilogy where we see Obi-Wan and Anakin act like they're best friends. I also usually complain about the battle droids not posing any threat to our main characters, but I don't mind that in this opening sequence, Obi-Wan and Anakin are just strolling through the invisible hand without an ounce of worry. We know these two characters aren't going to die anyway, and it's more important to the story that these two feel like brothers rather than having this opening sequence be tense. God, I hate General Grievous. For those of you who don't know me, well, General Grievous is my least favorite character. What he represents is everything I hate about Star Wars. A CGI villain with no development, he wields 4 lightsabers like they mean nothing, and he ultimately doesn't add anything to the story. But I'll talk about that more later.
Drop your weapon. I said drop them. Roger.
Okay, so one thing that this movie does that really pisses me off is having battle droids not shoot the main characters for no reason. There are at least 3 or 4 times this movie where Obi-Wan or Anakin should have died, but the droids just told them to surrender instead of actually shooting them when they could have. The Clone Wars has been going on for 3 years. Shouldn't they know by now how hard it is to kill a Jedi? So if you have an open shot to kill a Jedi, you should take it. Unless you're given specific orders not to kill any Jedi, but that makes no sense.
Take the elevator number 21174.
Get back to work. That nothing.
The battle droids have the least intimidating voice possible. In The Phantom Menace, at least they sounded moderately respectable. But in this movie, they sound so weak. Now, The Clone Wars is the worst offender of this, but that's an animated series, so I'll give it a pass. But here, they should sound better.
Stop, R2, we need to be going up.
Hands up, Jedi.
Again, why don't they shoot Anakin? He's defenseless. And then a whole minute goes by where they just do nothing but stare at Anakin. I know some of you say that Star Wars is known for having plot armor, and this is true, but there's a difference between plot armor and bad guys having opportunities to kill our heroes and simply not doing it. I should keep a counter called the dumbass villain counter for the amount of times the villains could have easily killed our heroes, but instead they attempted to or did take them as prisoners for no reason. So right now we're at 2.
What was that all about?
Well, R2 has been...
No loose wire jokes.
Did I say anything?
He's trying.
I didn't say anything.
This is the banter I love from Star Wars. The prequels don't have enough of it, especially between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Okay, that was pretty cool, but I always found it odd how R2 just has a bunch of oil ready to squirt at people. This could have been useful at other points in the saga. Okay, I'm gonna go on a rant here. Why is Palpatine being held captive in the way that he is? I can accept that at some point before this movie, the Separatists sent some assassins to capture Palpatine. Yes, this happened in the old Clone Wars, but I'm not counting that. If Palpatine is really being held prisoner, why is he on a throne in a giant room by himself? Shouldn't there be like a dozen guards watching him? Now, some of you may say, well, Palpatine orchestrated this whole thing, so he's not really going to be in a jail cell. Fair enough, but only Dooku knows Palpatine is a Sith. Shouldn't these questions cross Grievous's mind? Also, shouldn't they cross Anakin and Obi-Wan's mind? If I was on a rescue mission to save the President of the United States and he was just chilling on a throne in a big room by himself, I would be sussed out. Also, why is Palpatine being held captive on a ship above the planet that is the capital of the Republic? What is stopping this ship from jumping into hyperspace and leaving Coruscant? And, you know, bring Palpatine into the heart of the Separatist territory so it's hard to rescue him? I bet you there's some bullshit reason explained in the books or something that the Separatists are being held above Coruscant against their will. Well, bullshit. I want an explanation in the damn movie. This is a pretty big detail left out of the movie that I'm shocked more people don't discuss.
This time we will do it together. I was about to say that.
I find it funny here that Obi-Wan says this time we'll do it together, clearly referencing how they didn't do that in Attack of the Clones. But then when you watch the Clone Wars, the two of them fought Dooku together a few times. So Obi-Wan is technically not referencing the most recent time the two of them fought Dooku.
I've been looking forward to this.
My powers have doubled since the last time we met, Count.
Good. Twice the pride, double the fall.
And there you have 3 memes spoken consecutively. It is no secret that this movie is probably the most memed movie of all time. Could I sit here and talk about all the memes? Sure. But I do want to try and give my own original commentary here, so don't be upset when I don't reference every single meme. Yep, Obi-Wan should be paralyzed from the waist down. Also, I love Palpatine's facial expressions throughout this duel. For someone who's supposedly as skilled at dueling as Dooku is, I've always been surprised he lost in this way. I've always loved the silence after Anakin kills Dooku. You can even hear the sound of the lightsabers retracting echo through the room. Star Wars is of course known for its great music, but sometimes silence is more powerful.
The first time, Anakin.
Remember what you told me about your mother and the Sand People?
This was such a forced line of dialogue. Lucas was probably like, we need to remind the audience of what happened in the previous movie, so let's just throw that line in here. So how does gravity work on this ship? Because the ship begins to fall and then the gravity on the ship changes. The implication here is that the gravity on the ship is determined by its relation to the planet. But that makes no sense because we know ships in Star Wars have their own gravity. So this is a peculiar one.
Ray shields. Wait a minute. How did this happen? We're smarter than this.
Apparently not.
The apparently not line always made me chuckle. Why does this ship have ray shields in the middle of their hallway? Is that normal in Star Wars? Was this ship designed to capture prisoners in the middle of their hallway? Strange.
Don't miss.
Do you have a plan B?
I'm gonna count this as another moment where the droids should have killed Anakin and Obi-Wan. Why are the Separatists so hell-bent on taking prisoners? Especially the two that just killed Count Dooku. Just kill Anakin and Obi-Wan and capture Palpatine again.
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
Jedi scum.
I love how one offhanded line about these two never meeting before resulted in them actually never meeting in 7 seasons of the Clone Wars. Neat piece of continuity.
Crush them. Make them suffer.
Again, why are none of these battle droids shooting Anakin and Obi-Wan? After Grievous yells, "Crush them," we visibly see Anakin have his back to a few droids, and they do nothing. And this happens multiple times throughout this sequence. Again, though, Palpatine's expressions in this movie always make me laugh.
We lost something.
Not to worry, we are still flying half a ship.
I get that the Jedi are confident people, but I would have liked it if they once in a while showed an ounce of worry. Throughout these next few minutes or so when they are tumbling towards Coruscant, they never look worried that there is a very good chance they could die. They're flying half a ship towards a planet full of skyscrapers. That's one of the largest problems I have with the prequels. Oftentimes the characters are going through something and they never show the proper emotion. Just have Anakin and Obi-Wan show an ounce of anxiety and that would make what's going on feel more realistic.
Landing strip straight ahead.
We're coming in too hot.
They are incredibly lucky that they managed to crash right where a runway was. Also, why is there a runway on Coruscant? Star Wars is a universe where ships can take off vertically, so there's no need for a runway. Also, they casually crash into a tower and likely killed a few people, but it's never addressed. If you look closely, you can actually see the Millennium Falcon at the bottom of the screen. Now, this may have been retconned by the way it looks in Solo, but either way, this was supposed to be the Millennium Falcon.
You owe me one, and not for saving your skin for the 10th time.
9th time. That business on Cato Nemoidia doesn't count.
Hey, I read that book with the business on Cato Nemoidia. Not a bad book.
Chancellor Palpatine.
Why is Jar Jar still representative? The Siege of Theed was 13 years ago, and he's proven himself to be rather unreliable.
Oh, Anakin.
Anakin and Padme's relationship is so much better in this movie. Besides one rather cringe scene, they actually feel like a couple in this movie. Huge step up from Attack of the Clones.
I'm pregnant.
I don't know what Anakin is feeling here. He says that's wonderful and smiles at the news of Padme being pregnant, but his whole reaction a few seconds prior to me suggests he's like, oh shit, this can't be happening. Even throughout this whole movie, I have no clue how Anakin actually feels about having a kid. It just seems like he doesn't care. He's always more concerned about Padme than his kid. This is where it's perfectly reasonable to question the acting and directing choices. Apparently it's a sin now in the Star Wars community to question the acting of Hayden Christensen, but I don't give a shit. This was a moment that wasn't well acted. Granted, Hayden is much better in this movie than he was in Attack of the Clones, but that doesn't mean he's perfect. I love how John Williams can make the most insignificant thing feel epic. Grievous is simply just walking out of a ship, something we've seen hundreds of times in Star Wars, but the music that's playing makes it feel so much more epic than it is. God, I love Star Wars music.
The end of the war is near, General. But the loss of Count Dooku.
If I was Grievous here, hearing Palpatine saying the war is almost over would freak me out. As he just pointed out, their leader is dead, and from the way the Republic is talking, it seems like they have the upper hand in the war. If I was on the losing side of a war and some sketchy dude told me that the war will be over soon, I would be scared as fuck. But since Grievous is a mindless idiot, it doesn't cross his mind.
You're so beautiful.
It's only because I'm so in love.
God, this is bad. Even though this is the only scene in the movie that's really cringe, it may be worse than any exchange in Attack of the Clones. You're so beautiful. Only because I'm so in love. I just had a thought that's completely unrelated to this movie. Well, kinda. A lot of people who have problems with The Last Jedi point to the scene where Luke and Kylo are at the temple as the main problem with Luke's character. If instead of just seeing Luke's face and Mark Hamill's acting, what if instead we had visions like Anakin did of Padme dying, but instead Luke had visions of Han and Leia dying at the hand of Kylo Ren? And then when the vision ends, Luke just has his lightsaber ignited. I wonder if this connection to Anakin and his visions would make more people empathize with what Luke was going through.
Rejoice for those around you who transform into the Force. Mourn them, do not. Miss them, do not.
This scene triggers me so much. Like, honestly, fuck Yoda in the prequels. This was a kid who you yourself said holds great fear and that he's dangerous. Now he comes to you expressing his fear and is asking for help, and you tell him to simply just get over it? Moments like these are why I hate the Jedi Order in the prequels so much. Now some of you will say, but Goldman, that is the point. The Jedi are supposed to be flawed. I don't care. I don't like this direction that Lucas took, that the Jedi were idiots and cunts. Order 66 would be far more impactful if the Jedi were filled with people who were actually kinda nice and not dicks. But since they're all assholes, I don't give a shit that they all died.
You didn't inform the council? That's unusual, isn't it?
All of this is unusual, and it's making me feel uneasy.
This is the part of the movie where I start to get frustrated with what's going on. I honestly think that completing one page of Where's Waldo is harder than figuring out that Palpatine is a Sith Lord. They all sense that there is unease in the situation going on with Palpatine. They are aware that he's continuing to try and get more power. They are also aware that there is a secret Sith Lord that is in charge of the Republic, thanks to Count Dooku. And they even sense that the dark side surrounds the Chancellor. It's hard for me to see Palpatine as some master strategist who fooled all the Jedi, when in reality the Jedi are just a bunch of morons who couldn't put two and two together.
The Jedi Council.
Me. A master. I'm overwhelmed, sir.
This is a prime example of George Lucas not being the best director. Instead of actually having Anakin show a little bit that he's overwhelmed, he just says, "I'm overwhelmed, sir."
How can you be on the council and not be a master? Take a seat, young Skywalker.
He just got wrecked. I'm glad this movie made a concerted effort to show that Mace Windu is a dick to Anakin. Makes what happens later feel a lot more organic.
The Council wants you to report on all the Chancellor's dealings. They want to know what he's up to.
This is the stuff that I kinda like and kinda dislike. I think it makes total sense that the Jedi would do this, and I quite like the secret moves that the Jedi are trying to make. But as you'll see in a second, it doesn't seem like Palpatine is doing detective work to figure out what the Jedi are doing. He just seems like he knows everything that's going on at all times. If you make your villains too smart, then it just feels like they know everything that's going on at once, instead of them actually feeling smart. And that's a problem I think this movie has.